friends, I am the Dungeon Tutor. Today we're looking at another RPGaDay question. This one, the 7th question. This being the 7th day of August. The question is, what is the smartest RPG you've played? And people are going to be upset with me on this one because this one doesn't get brought up enough, I don't think, in talking about games that are intelligently designed and so on and so forth. But my bid for that one has got to be GURPS, the Generic Universal Role Play System by Steve Jackson Games. Yes. I consider it to be the most intelligent game, not because it has the most complicated rules. Some people think it has very complicated rules, but when it boils down, it's not. 3d6 against usually your stat minus any penalties you have. That's not hard. But encapsulated within that, you have possibly the finest simulation of reality that is sculpted for a game experience that I've ever come across. How so? I'll give you some examples. Number one, anything that you can think about realistically is somehow patterned in the game. Fall damage. It's pretty realistic. You fall a decent distance, you'll get hurt. In games with abstract hit points, you don't. In GURPS, you never have tons and tons and tons of hit points unless you're playing an alternate game system. Yes, you can play with cinematic hit points where you actually just clodge on hit points onto your character so that you can take more punishment cinematically. Those hit points aren't the same as your character's health rating, so it's an abstraction. But generally, if you don't play with that, you can only take so much damage before you are really suffering. You can lose a limb, or the use of a limb at least, with damage against that body part in a way that makes sense. You can take a head blow and have a realistic effect of damage. Your character could be stunned with almost any head blow, for instance. And yeah, there are rules for decapitating a person in combat, so you can have that, just like it is possible in real life to cut someone's head off. There are, I feel, a huge effort put in that you can see in a variety of places where every effort to research and apply realistic measures has been applied. Just go ahead and look at the rules for guns in GURPS. They have a range for, each gun, and generally meticulously selected from what's realistic for those various guns. Again, some research has been done for that, and rules for how many times you can fire, the penalties for firing repeatedly with recoil, a lot of stuff that other games generally tend to gloss over or clodge some big overall effect. For example, if you've ever used full auto rules in White Wolf's World of Darkness 1st edition, it was adding 10 dice on and kicking up your difficulty by quite a bit, enabling you to possibly do a ridiculous amount of damage, but realistically a lot of those bullets are going to end up missing because of the raised difficulty, because you are not controlling as well. There are certainly some elements that take into account more realistic approaches to those kind of effects. The game experience is in general not quite as elevated. It's slimmed down, but it's scalable, so that if you want a superhero experience, you can do that. You just pump more character points into the character, open up some super abilities or supernatural abilities, or even don't. Just let them be ridiculously good humans. And you can tell that game experience. Without having to change the core mechanic never really needs to change. It's a solid mechanic that allows you to do just about anything. And it works really well, I find, under whatever circumstances I've ever thrown at it. The only real frustrations go into when you have too many options. But honestly, in any game that usually gets a nod for being an intelligent, smart game, options just kind of come with the territory. And if you are going to tell a particular kind of story with GURPS, you're not locked down to just the default, like, say, a Dungeons & Dragons. Yeah, you can tell a low magic D&D game, but you have to omit an awful lot of things to make it feel low magic. You've got core classes, for instance, that magic comes regularly and often, making it, you know, when you've got wizards cracking magic missiles at your back and sending out gouts of flame from their fingers, that's not low magic. That's pretty high levels of magic right there. And you're always traveling with a wizard or sorcerer, or you're going to see quite a bit of magic. It kind of takes away some of that feel that the rest of the world is kind of a low magic setting where you're not going to come across magic here and there and everywhere. And when you do it, it may often come from some infernal source or something more than welcome to those who are depraved enough to let it in, to want sorcery. That's usually hallmarks of low magic. I know there's other alternate versions of low magic, but realistically it's just tricky. You do have to change several elements from the default world of something like Dungeons & Dragons. With GURPS, there's no such expectations. The default is, if you go through the core books, anything is possible, and it's up to the Game Master to decide what you're going to use and what you're not going to use. And it gives the Game Master all the tools to do just that. I believe it is the smartest game in role-playing games because of how it was designed from the ground up. To be modular, to fill in any need the Game Master has, and to be able to handle just about any detail to a point that should satisfy players and Game Masters alike. So that would be my bid for it. Yes, there are plenty of other very intelligent games, and not all of them are overly complicated, but GURPS gets my nod. And this is my video, so that's what you get. So, I am the Dungeon Tutor. Thanks for joining me. I hope to see you again in future videos. And that would be helped if you chose to subscribe. And if you like it, tells me you think I did a good job, and I appreciate that. And if you share it with somebody else who's looking for a smart game and maybe something to, you know, they maybe don't have any information about GURPS, or maybe they've heard some bad things about GURPS, maybe let them know. There's people out there who find it to be quite good. And if you have hit that notification and you see that I put up another video, I hope that you, yes, you, get a chance to roll some dice, play some games, have some fun. Stay safe out there, my friends. Until that next time, farewell.